Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
and Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
No,
How is mine?
good.
yours is always fine.
Okay.
Yes.
So many compliments. Clearly, we've been missing Amrita most of all, right? Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie, and I'm joined with my lovely co-host Amrita and Sujoy. Hey, Amrita. Hey, Sujoy.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
It's been a while. I think we're all a bit kind of rusty. So it's like, you've been on vacation for a while, you haven't been to the gym, and it's gonna hurt. So this is probably this episode, it's gonna hurt.
I'm more hurtful to the audiences who are listening rusty people talk.
Yeah, better to be rusty than to be dusty, I have to say. What have we been doing? I think, let's keep it filmy as much as we can, and then we can do like a more personal kind of thing on Patreon to keep things aside, what we've been up to and what we've not been up to. But a couple of weeks have passed. Lots of movies have come out, lots of trailers, news, all of that has come out. So we've watched a few things. We're going to be discussing those things. I don't think we all watch the same thing, right? Like some of us had access to certain things. Some people were lazy. Some were banned and censored and couldn't watch anything.
Some of us live in restrictive cultures.
Yeah.
We don't have access to the same things.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get into it. I don't think let's start with maybe the big one first. And although I'm saying the big one, I think the conversation has already moved on. But let's start with Alpha. Maybe I think we've all watched Alpha, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, okay, good. Without any coordination, we ended up watching Alpha. All good choices from the Khandaan team. I do have to say, when we posted that reaction to the trailer that we posted on YouTube or something like that, people were like, oh, like, how much money did you get? Have you gone crazy? Like, why are you looking forward to this movie? Like, all of those nice comments that we usually get on, social media.
And just once more, I just want to tell, the Hollywood big shots, please pay us money. We are absolutely for sale. You can absolutely back up that truck to us. We are available anytime. Write to us at
I'm very, very ready for this podcast to be renamed the YRF Podcast. I don't care.
Absolutely.
If you are throwing money at me, I'm ready to dance.
Aditya Chopra, write to youpodcasting@gmail.com. We are ready and waiting for you.
But I do have to say two things though. Like, one is somebody was saying oh no, things must be really bed because you're not earning money, and I was like, yes, things are really bad. Join our Patreon, please. But it was funny. I think I think it was Sanjay Gupta on Twitter, who's being a messy bitch sometimes. And he was like, I think it was Taran Adarsh that had made a tweet for this. It was a clearly paid tweet about promoting some movie that nobody cares about. Might have been the new movie with the Inder Kumar's son or whoever else he is. Something like that. And Sanjay Gupta says whenever I see a tweet like this from Taran Adarsh, I know at least 50,000 rupees have landed in his account. And obviously, I don't know the conversion of Indian rupees. And when I made it, and I was like, man, this is what they're getting paid? I'd rather not be paid. Like this is nothing. I was like, okay, if people are selling their morals for 50,000 Indian rupees, I'd rather keep my morals, to be honest. I don't want it.
The European has entered the chat.
Yeah. The conversion rate has entered the chat, I have to say. Yeah, I'm not doing it for 50,000 rupees, I have to say. But yeah, coming back to Alpha, we were genuinely quite excited when we saw the trailer. I don't think any of us fake any happiness, and like we've established, we don't get paid for opinions. Who would pay for this? But how how did your expectations match what you ended up seeing, Amrita? And is it no, go ahead, Amrita, go ahead first. Before I add a
No,
layer.
I was watching it in good faith, and then I actually texted you after I came back, and I basically texted like it was Agatha all along, like the song from Marvel, because it was Pakistan all along. Like I should have known that it would be Pakistan all along. But it wasn't as bad as everyone is saying, I think. Like I've watched War 2. I know just how bad things can get. This was definitely better than that. I didn't see how, there were like people talking about like how Sharvari is mogging Alia. Like that's the word that everyone, like, every so often the Indian internet sphere will like
Learn a word.
discover, yeah, like there will be like one like piece of like slang that they latch on to. Like a few years ago it was woke, and they would be like, this is woke. And what is woke? Woke is something I don't like. Basically anything and everything was woke. Now it's mog, like this one is like mogging. So they're just like Sharvari is mogging Alia and everything, and I'm like we've established before that I think Sharvari is like super hot and super talented. And right from her debut film, which like none of you like actually saw, but right from there, I've thought that she's like really good looking and stuff, but I don't see how Alia is some sort of hideous beast
Yeah,
the
she's
way
like a
that
troll. Like,
where is this coming from? Like that's an objectively pretty girl. Like I don't know what people are talking about. But as far as the movie goes, it was fine. It wasn't like it didn't blow me away in any way. Like the action set pieces, the music, and it was really funny because when they put Hrithik in there, it was clear that here is somebody who's very comfortable with wire work, whereas the stunt women or whoever it was that, or like even Alia and Sharvari in the spaces where like they were doing their own stunts, it was clear that they didn't know how to mask it, and I'm not somebody that pays a lot of attention to action normally, but even I could make out that there was a difference in how Hrithik was doing the choreography versus how the ladies were doing it, and that was unfortunate. Like you don't want to set up that comparison, and they really set that up. And the music was so mid. Like, I'm sorry, but like you need that one song like to like really sell the premise of these movies, and they just didn't have it for this one. But yeah, I feel like Shiv Ravel I don't know if this was his debut film or not, but he's clearly much more comfortable doing like a giant blockbuster movie than Ayan Mukherjee.
yeah. What about you, Sujoy?
Like, I was very genuinely impressed by the final product because I had very low expectations coming after War 2, and I didn't know what the direction the YRF Spy Universe was going to make. I was looking forward to, a female lead and Alia playing that. And the second teaser or trailer that dropped generally had me hyped. But I did end up enjoying it, but I don't know if it is because I did not like War 2 before it, and so the comparison is making me enjoy this more. I can't say as a standalone movie if this is at all, like, maybe in a second rewatch I will find out more flaws about it, but the memory of watching Alpha, I quite enjoy it, to be honest. And yes, there are some flaws, like, nothing here is very, consequential in a sense. Like, they set up stuff for Anil to resolve, and Anil does it so easily. There are no genuine like threats, or like Anil asks both of them to escape so that he can hold the fort, but he does it single-handedly anyway. So why did he want them to escape? I don't know. It just felt like plot devices after plot devices, which did not make any sense to me. Ritik's cameo, I did not enjoy at all. It was just a cameo for cameo's sake, like a fan callback, because he is a major character that exists in the spy universe. And why was he cosplaying Jadoo? And that was very, very odd. And he was actually dodging bullets like he was Neo, and that really felt odd. Also, the main crux of the plot, like in hindsight, really irks me, that these women, they have to be super soldiers aided by some super serum to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Kabirs and the Tigers and Pathans of the world.
They need a super serum for ek akela Pakistani. That's what they need, super serum for. Like one Pakistani they can't handle.
And Bobby is like 65 and he's beating the shit out of everyone. He's the super soldier in this. It feels like, a lot of it did not make sense. But, as a very disposable spy movie, I had a fun time at the movies. But yeah, the more you think about it, it doesn't make sense.
And this movie also suffers from that issue that a lot of movies have these days, where like somebody will do something and then they will pause and they will explain exactly what they've done. It's that Netflix school of filmmaking, which I cannot stand. I'm like, why? Like half of Bobby's role was him just explaining everything that he's just done, rather than him just doing stuff. So that was annoying.
I think for me, Alpha is like a movie stuck in no man's land and doesn't understand what it wants to be. Like, and it's interesting that this movie flopped at the same time that Supergirl flopped. Both of them under-delivered very much. And I think one of the problems is that it wants to be a girl power movie, but it also wants to be a boys movie. And I think it's kind of stuck. It's kind of delivering on neither. I took my daughter to watch this because I was hoping, she's a huge Alia fan. I was like, women kicking ass, empowering and stuff like that. And afterwards, she was like, Papa, theek hai. Like, it's fine, And I was like, yeah, isn't Sharvari cool and stuff like that? He's like, theek hai. So even for like little 13, 14-year-old girls, it's not delivering that kind of like hype moment like when you think about Avengers Endgame, where you had that sequence where all of the female heroines are coming together, and it didn't land. Like, it did not land. And Captain Marvel didn't land, Supergirl didn't land. And I think there's just a problem with how these movies are made. And one of the problems is that they make these vast cinematic universes, like they did with the Marvel movies, like they do with the DC movies. But the female movie comes way too late. And it seems like a completely discombobulated from the rest of the storyline, right? Like, if you want to make a female movie, make a Zoya movie, right? Make the character that Deepika was playing, put those two together, and that's the movie you want to make. But you're creating this new Alpha 7 movies later on. There's been Tiger 3, which was disappointing. There was War 2 that was disappointing. Even the cameo was disappointing of Shah Rukh. And so all of these disappointments are then being carried by the female-driven movie, and that's unfair burden to add on that. The second why it's kind of stuck in this no man's land is because this is Yash Raj. Yash Chopra, the man who was always about, we are the same people, we have the same dharti, we have the same language, we have the same culture. His studio now has to very uncomfortably start adding lines of, oh, tu Pakistani hai, ye Pakistan hai. And it doesn't work. It doesn't gel well. Like, they look uncomfortable doing it. This production house looks uncomfortable doing it. But it's just the reality of the kind of answer they want to now give to Dhurandhar, right? Like, that's what they're trying to do. And it just feels very awkward, very uncomfortable. Nobody's happy with it, right? But clearly they've been forced to do this, and it just looks stupid, right? So there's that.
And at the same time, like, you can't please the Dhurandhar crowd. Even when you pull a stunt like this
it's
and
never
say that the villain is Pakistani now, he played a Dhurandhar on everybody. He's been the Hamza in this spy universe. Nobody's happy about it. Everybody's calling like, oh, they retrofitted this story because of Dhurandhar now.
Yeah, and clearly, like, the Pakistani has done a much better job than Hamza did. Like, he literally infiltrated the Indian army, right? Like, that's crazy. And I always remember this when we were talking about Dhurandhar, where Amrita said there's this weird sexual fantasy about Pakistanis in the movie itself. And here it's the same thing, where you have this, like, super alpha. He's like basically Jalandhar soldier, like, he's just like taking on everybody. And he's like the coolest guy, and he's the one that's Pakistani, and you have to take on a full-on army to take him down, and it still like barely manages to happen. If they had more focused maybe on this Oedipal complex of a father and daughter and that kind of thing, maybe that would have been a more interesting thing. You could have even added this layer of that we all come from the same motherland or something like that, where that could have been an interesting storyline. But I just thought it was stuck in this no man's land. And what I find the most insulting part, and I feel nobody's talked about this, the Pakistan India thing, we know this, right? But Anil Kapoor, when there is a genocide going on, getting a call from the Mossad and them working with Mossad, I found the most infuriating level that they've added for no reason. There's no spy, there's no collaboration. Why was that line in there? That just seems such an insensitive and ridiculous line to add there, where you could have added, I don't know, the CIA, KGB, whoever you wanted. But adding the Mossad in there and saying that the Indian, Anil Kapoor team is working with them as a throwaway, I thought that was the most disgusting thing I have seen in all of Alpha. Like, that was like, it was like the worst thing. Like, I literally cringed when I heard that line. And I feel nobody's talked about it, but I think that is like the creeping, horrible political agenda that sneaks into these movies. And what is the point of it? Just because the IDF is killing Muslims, that's the only reason you want to sneak in that line?
Pretty much.
And it's horrible. I thought that was one of the worst things that I've seen in a long time, and I think that's why I'm pissed off at Alpha more than any other thing that I've kind of come across. Yeah.
I will say though, like, I think when you're saying that Zoya and Deepika's character, whose name I also can't remember.
So Ruby, Rohani, what's it?
Rubina.
Is it? Yeah.
Rubia, Rubet, something like that.
But you should know this.
Rubina Mohsin.
Yeah, okay. Rubina. And I would say that Tiger 2 was basically a Zoya film. It was a sneak Zoya film that also happened to have like Salman Khan in it. But you mean
Tiger 3?
Tiger 3. That's the one where she goes and she kills a whole bunch of people, right? Like she saves the Yezdis from the Yazdi women.
No, that's two.
Tiger.
That's
two. Yeah.
And Tiger 3 is sort of the Zora origin.
It is. Yeah. It is just like how she became Zoya, basically, right?
Because she's like clearly the most interesting character out of that franchise. Let's be real. But I was actually thinking about this, when people, because you're not the first person who said that, they should have made a movie with Katrina or Deepika if they wanted something in the spy universe that was, about women. And they simply cannot, because both of those characters are Pakistanis and they can't do it.
All right, obviously. I thought like the coolest people are Pakistani in the YRF universe, basically.
So they literally cannot. So all these people who were just like, oh no, they would have kicked butt. But yeah, I'm sure Katrina and Deepika would have been amazing in an action movie based on those characters that they played in the spy universe. But they literally cannot make a movie about those two women and headline it, because you can't make movies about Pakistani spies and be like, wow, look at this awesome Pakistani spy. That's not going to happen in India. So yeah, that's not going to happen.
Somebody did say they would have preferred Disha Patni instead of Alia.
This is where I know that Alia derangement syndrome is going out of hand, because you are insane. Like,
I
stop.
think they meant specifically from an action standpoint, because she's really, Disha Patni is amazing at action. Like, have you seen her videos? Like, she's a proper kickboxer, and it's insane to watch, right? And I think the main problem that people seem to have with Alia in the terms of action is she's not like a tall, statuesque kind of person, right? Like, she's not Katrina, she's not Deepika, right? And I think people attach action to that. But I would counter, because I actually like the action set pieces in this movie. I thought there was really competently done. Because think of Ana de Armas and think of Brie Larson. That's what you need to think about in terms of template of what Alia should have been done. And those are very tiny, firecracker, beautiful women, and they do action really well, and they're quite physically strong. I also just thought physically, like, she looked quite strong, like Sharvari, definitely, right? But I think, yeah, they did the mehnat for this, right? It wasn't an easy thing to pull off. So, one thing though, what's up with the random chirapunji dishes in this movie? Like, they're constantly, oh, you have to go to chirapunji. I was like, what the? I was like, it's like, is it like the worst place in the world? Like, what is that?
No, it's infamous or famous to be the one with the highest rainfall in India.
Okay.
Is
In
it
the world, actually.
In the world,
it has, yeah. So it's just very wet and it's very remote. So you have
Okay.
to go to like a remote part of India. So I think like that was basically
It's
what
like
they
when
were.
Captain Russell gets in Lagan gets transferred to the middle of Africa. It's that equivalent.
Okay. Just wondering about that. Let's move on to another movie we watched. You guys watched, actually. Main Vaapas Aunga. I didn't get a chance to see this, unfortunately. You both saw it, right? So, Joy, what did you think about it?
Let me pull up my thoughts.
Where does it rank in terms of Imtiaz movies? Let's start with that, maybe. Because he seems to be in this new phase, right? Like, he's not in that I'm a man boy who's very angry, and I got broken up with, and now I have to get over it. Now this seems to be like a new, very Punjab focused era that he's in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
post Chamkila.
Yeah, this is very much in that Chamkila zone, I would
Jab
say.
Harry Met Sally, Sejal was also a very Punjab movie.
No,
It wasn't.
not like this. Like, this is definitely a movie that has like political things to say. Like, this
Okay.
is like Amar Singh Chamkila. Like, it has like a political point of view. Whereas Jab Harry Met Sally was more of a philosophical or spiritual successor to Tamasha and like that entire genre of movies that he was doing.
So, Joy, you got your notes?
Yep. So I did not know what to expect because I hadn't seen any of the trailers. I only knew this was a Imtiaz Ali movie and an A.R. Rahman musical, and I didn't know who were involved except for Diljit. And I went into this blind, and this movie made me cry my eyes out, man. I did not expect to cry in an Imtiaz movie because I haven't done that in a very long time. And Nasiruddin Shah and like his sort of portrayal of a world that he tries to go back to, but his body and his mind is fast escaping him. The whole mortality of that, and then the horrors of the things that he's been to that has led him to that, and the story of that family and what they have gone through to from where they began and where they are and where he's trying to go back to is just it really got me, even though like I am not part of the partition generation. I did not suffer through the partition horrors that these stories are trying to tell, but I can definitely like connect to what it must have been for people who were displaced. What did surprise me was the last 10 minutes of the movie, that it became a story about not just the partition, but also about the global displacement of migrants, of war-torn nations, and that got me out of nowhere. And yeah, that also was a big shock for me. There are some things that irk me in this, like Diljit being the sort of audience proxy, and he's trying to tell the story from an audience perspective about, he's sort of expositioning throughout the story through the means of him trying to discover more about Partition and through stand-up, which really, really, did not gel well with me. And at the end of it, he also has a Michael Jackson Earth song kind of a music video, which really threw me off. It was not good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
overall, this movie was a winner. It was like, you can see the sort of trajectory of Imtiaz Ali as a storyteller, and you can see the flashes of his movies past in this movie as well, like Love Aajkal. You can see some bits of Rockstar even, but there's so much more heartbreak in this, and it was beautifully done. And the music, oh my god, the music, so good.
Yeah, I think Diljit was probably the weakest part of this film for me. He was the strongest part of Amar Singh Chimkila for me, and he is the complete opposite here for all the reasons that Sujoy is talking about. But I think the funniest part of it was when he's on his little discovery of what the partition was and what it meant. They go to the Partition Museum. And Diljit is looking through the exhibits, and he goes, "Logon ko pata hai ye sab?" And I'm like, yes, some of us have an education,
And then, in a very Seinfeld kind of a way, the next scene is he's delivering what he's learned in a stand-up set. It's so read the room, guys.
Yeah.
Amrita, I honestly don't know if people know. I think you're overestimating the knowledge and intellect of a lot of people. Maybe I don't know.
No, but I seem to remember. It seems like it was another life, but I seem to remember around the end, the turn of the century, right? 99 to about say 2003, 2004. Up until I think the parliament attacks in New Delhi, which was 2002, I want to say, maybe around that time. But there was this brief period of time where India and Pakistan were trying to build bridges, etc. And a lot of that was about the partition. That narrative was about the partition. So we heard a lot about it. Because at that time, we had a whole bunch of prime ministers who had lived through the partition. Ikka Gujral and his family had lived through the partition, for example. And while Atal Bihari Vajpayee hadn't, L.K. Advani was famously from Lahore, and he lived through the partition, etc. So there's there was a lot of talk back then, and I remember all the stories that came out, and people were talking about it.
Sorry, Amrita, but also for our generation who grew up in India in the 80s and the 90s, our national TV every single year, Republic Day and 15th of August, Independence Day, we used to play Gandhi, Richard Attenborough's Gandhi, which talks about the entire independence movement, including the partition. And we grew up learning all of that, by default, I think.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, the current generation don't probably.
And also my first gig, so I started out in digital media, and my first gig was for a now defunct website called chalk.com, which was started by a couple of Pakistani American people, a Pakistani American couple. And one of their major goals for starting that website was to record the stories of the partition. And they wanted authors from Pakistan and India to write for that website, etc. And talk about their history, the politics. And there used to be pitched battles between the Pakistanis and Indians back then also. But also a lot of these people would talk about what it was, their family history, etc. So maybe you're right, Asim. I am a bit of an outlier, but also I think the general things about the partition were, as Sujoy is saying, is a lot more conversant for our generation rather than the people that came who are younger than us. But also, since I've been back in India, I've also come to understand that there's a lot of resentment towards the Punjabi refugees of the partition in India, because there seems to be like this not very often vocalized but very deeply held belief that the Punjabi refugees of the partition somehow benefited from the partition, and like the survivors of the horror, like fine, like you had all the horror and everything. But once you were in India, you somehow managed to profit off whatever it was that you went through, right? And to me, because I grew up in South Delhi, which was basically settled by Punjabi refugees of the partition, that is a mind blowing perspective, because I knew like pretty much every Punjabi family that I knew in South Delhi had like stories of partition and like what it was like. And they all started out in refugee camps, etc. And at no point, and they worked really hard, and obviously they had like government assistance and everything, but they also, I knew like the old uncles and aunties. And actually when I was watching this movie, I realized that I knew a whole bunch of uncles, like old uncles who had like lived through the partition, but I didn't really know a lot of old aunties who had like lived through the partition. And this particular movie gives an explanation of that missing generation of women that genuinely I hadn't considered. I don't want to spoil it for you, Asim, because you haven't seen it, and I'm sure it's going to come out on streaming, and you'll want to watch it at that point, because it really is like one of these movies that it's much more than just the tragic bits. It's about it's about a culture, and it's about a world that doesn't exist anymore. It's about nostalgia in a way, in a very tangible kind of way. There's like a point in the movie where Vedang Raina, who is playing the young Nasiruddin Shah, amazing performance, by the way. And he turns to his brother and he says, "This world has come to an end. We can't turn back and look at it anymore." And then and it is such an emotional part of it. Like it is, and it's also a very, like it's something that I really connected with, even though like I've obviously never lived through something like the partition, because I know what that feels like, where the world that you remember just doesn't exist anymore. And I was like, that is just brilliant writing. And there's like this other part where they're like this old family of Sardarjis, right, who are living in Sargoda, which is in like the in present day Pakistan. And when the mobs come for them, they have to like leave their house and everything, and they make this decision to leave the women with like one of their family friends who's Muslim. And then the men go and like hide in the fields. And when the matriarch of the family is just asking her husband, like, "Sardarji, like you can't do that, like we need to stay together." And he says, and this is such good writing, he says, nobody can tell women, like he says it in Punjabi, but he basically says that nobody can tell women apart. Like, औरतों का कोई मजहब नहीं होता. Like, you can only tell like from men, because the men are like, like visibly different, right? Like they're wearing the turban, etc. And he says like, औरतों का कोई मजहब नहीं होता. Like, औरतें बस औरतें होती हैं. And like, that is the, like you immediately understand what this world was and what this world's view was. And also the patriarchy in that statement, all of it is just it's so perfect. And like they're like those are the Imtiaz Ali like touches to the whole situation. And then there's also a point where Diljit and his cousins basically go to his grandfather's younger brother, who is still in his senses, and says that, "I need you to tell me what happened to the women in your family, etc." And he says, "I refuse to tell you." And he's just this cantankerous old man, and he's like, "I'm not going to tell you." And he says, like, "If I tell you, then you people will only like learn to hate. Like, you don't understand anything. You don't understand what we went through. You don't understand like what that world was like, and I'm not going to tell you any of that shit. Which was again that is basically a very precise way of explaining that our histories are often weaponized against us, rather than learned from or appreciated, and again, it was like a very elegant way of expressing a universal truth, which is at the core like something that Imtiaz does very well.
We had a little comment here from Patreon for one of our patrons called Melanie, who's asked, I think Main Vaapas Aunga is a good companion piece to Heiram. What are your thoughts on Ikkis and Main Vaapas Aunga releasing in the same year as Dhurandhar? I don't know if you had a moment to think about that, Sujoy or Amrita.
Yeah. Ikkis, again, was like a fabulous movie, like I thought. Like it did like a lot of things like really well. I think they navigate a very narrow road, right, in present day Hindi cinema, because it's very Indian, and it's very like, here's the Indian perspective of like whatever it was that was happening. But it also says that this is us telling our stories rather than us telling a story that we then expect you to react to, and like that will lead to violence. Like they're not trying, like this is not a machismo kind of storytelling. This is not about like, well, yeah, like you spit in my face, but now look at me, I've got a knife and I'm gonna like poke you in the face with it. Like that's not what the point of these movies are. And I think that makes a lot of people very uncomfortable, but also the success of these movies also says that there is still an audience for it, that is interested in like, just pure storytelling.
A nuance also,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
And being kind of like both of these are very, very kind stories of, let's take care of each other rather than kill each other in a way. Like the human part of both of these stories is what stands out for me. And that's what I take back home with me. And I still keep thinking about them rather than the bloodshed and all that is, depicted in these stories. Like how much broken human lives, not only the families that go through these, but the generations that follow, what they go through, the trauma, the cycle of trauma continues generation after generation. Like in Main Vaapas Aunga, the son of Nasiruddin Shah, played by Rajat Kapoor, he cannot believe that his father used to love somebody because he never received that love as a son. And you can see their relationship is so bitter. Like he can't wait for the father to pass away, and there is a reason behind that, because he did not experience that love. And somebody then tells him like, he might have left his heart, in the border, where when he left his home and everything was, taken away from him. And it's such a heartbreaking story for not just for Nasir's story, where what he went through in his youth, but also for the sons who followed. He did not have a father. You see Nasir's character, or Vedang Raina, who's grown up now. He's like very, very much stone-hearted at a certain point. He's having death in his family, and he's going to work because he does not care about death anymore, because he's seen so much death that he does not react to it in a human way. So all of that is a part of tragedy that is told with so much nuance, so much kindness in these stories, which I guess people who appreciate, all the hate and all the hateful messages that movies like Dhurandhar are saying, they get uncomfortable when people like this challenge those hate with kindness in these stories.
I think the kindness is the key, because I think like that is what really, really makes people uncomfortable, because they cannot fathom going through that level of personal grief and coming out at the other end with grace. Because when Ikkis came out, and it was based on the true story of the father of like a young captain who was killed in the 71 war, who then makes friends with the Pakistani general who killed his son, and goes to and visits him in Pakistan to see where his son fell in battle. And so many people online were just like, how is that even possible? Like, it can't be that way, etc. Because they were just like, how can you forgive your son's killer as such? And the father was also an army man. He was just like, well, he was doing his job and my son was doing his job. That's basically, how he's basically saw it. But in Main Vaapas Aunga, one of the things that I really appreciated to see was that the people that were left behind in Pakistan, it's not like, and I'm talking about the Muslims, right? They also paid a price for the partition, right? Like, even if they didn't actually have to leave their homes and leave, there's a part where their Muslim friend in whose house, the women die, etc. When Vedang Raina's character meets him, a few years after partition, he's able to cross the border and he goes to see that house to find out what happened to the women in his family. And he's sitting there, he's clearly traumatized, and you can see that it was a very gracious home. It was beautiful before the partition, but now it's beginning to sort of decay and sort of fall apart a little bit. And he's this stony faced man who's very different from the man that he used to be before the partition. And he says, Shamsher, Vedang's dad basically says Shamsher se कहना कि यहाँ कुछ नहीं रखा, मैं मर गया और वो भी मर गया, which is again such a great line to explain what happened to these families. And then later when Diljit comes back, 50 years later, you can see that the city has changed, and the old parts of the city where these havelis are, the havelis have basically turned into some sort of ruin. It's not like these people have seen good fortune and prosperity after the partition. They've actually sort of lost out on the prosperity that they had before the partition, because they refused to hate their neighbors. They never recovered from the fact that they were labeled as being cheats and betrayers because they didn't hate their Hindu or Sikh neighbors. And their family, has been generations and they haven't recovered from that, which again is an incredible, it's an incredible line of thought for the price that not just the victims of violence pay, but also everyone in their ambit has to pay for, the violence of majoritarian violence or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's an interesting movie. It was very emotional. I agree with Sujoy. I took tissues to the theater because everyone told me that, oh my God, you're gonna cry, and yeah, they were right. I did cry.
We're going to be revisiting a few of these elements in Batwara 1947 too, I think. From one extreme to the other.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I do expect Rajkumar Santoshi to do better things. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that. But also looking at Sunny Deol being involved, I don't know how loud the volume is going to be.
Yeah. You saw the teaser, right, Amrita, or you didn't?
Yes, I did.
What did you think?
That was ridiculous.
It's an Amir Khan production, and it has Karan Singh Deol as well, Sunny's son, in it, in the credits I saw.
So this is
the Deols are trying.
Yeah, they're trying to make fetch happen, and I really don't think it's going to.
Oh, by the way, in Vaapas Aunga, did you realize who the actor who plays, Vedang Raina's father, the Garewal patriarch? I only saw it in the end credits, and then I was like, oh my God, it's Sanjay Suri.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's Sanjay Suri.
Wow. I did not recognize him.
Shankar Beats guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I mean, let's stay in Punjab a little bit, maybe. I watched Satluj. I pronounced it correctly, close
Mhm.
enough. Uh, I'm the only. I think Sujoy, you didn't get a chance to watch it either,
No,
right? Yeah, so
I
I'm the
really
only
want to,
one.
but I will be. Yeah.
Yeah, so it landed on this service I have on a Friday, and I knew this movie would not be available in a couple of days. So I just watched it as quickly as I could because I knew what was going to happen. And obviously, we know the story that this movie was shot a while ago. They've been trying to release it. It had a different name. A few times they had to change names. There were like 200, 300 cuts advised, and they pushed through and they managed to release it on Z5 without any fanfare, without any theatrical release. And they pulled the movie on a Monday. So dropped on Friday, pulled it on Monday. But since then, people have
I
really,
had like subreddit posts about I was watching and 1 hour into the movie it was pulled, so I could not finish the
wow,
movie because
really,
they had put it off like, oh, I'll be watching it over the weekend, and just it went.
yeah, yeah. And but although I think Diljit himself was doing like an Insta live or something about that the movie is out there and you cannot stop it anymore. And I think there's been here in the UK, there's been like public viewings of it. Like they've been
Mhm.
showing it on a big screen, and people have been going and watching it all
And
together.
people have been doing it in Punjab as well.
Punjab
I think,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think obviously in Canada there's going to be a big push for this too. Um, and I think it's a really um, heart wrenching, sad, tragic story. Um, some parts I knew, some parts I didn't. Like it is, Marches kind of threads in that same
Hmm.
area. I feel Patal Lok season 1 was a little bit, about those things. Urta Punjab, like a lot of those elements, like not specifically this story, but a lot of those elements have been kind of spoken before in other movies. But I think the focus of this story is so deep on this one person and what he kind of went through, and the whole I the just the whole investigation and how he got into this all of these extrajudicial murders that were happening by the police. And I mean, me coming out of it, like I am a very ACAP kind of person anyway, and it just kind of solidified this idea that all cops are bad. Like this is no good cops, right? Only in cinema we see them, and that's it. Like the whole institution is just corrupt. And but the brutality of it and the untouchability of it in this movie, the way it's shown, it's really hard to watch. Especially like the hopelessness that the people are feeling, that they cannot do anything. And a few times the word genocide is mentioned in this movie, which a lot of people have been balking against. That this is, and this, which is a usual tactic, right? Like go at the definition, and this definition that we have of genocide doesn't fit because you have this and that. But the what I like, I'm not stuck on the word genocide necessarily, but the massacres that happen and the hopelessness and the deliberate targeting of people, and the kind of spread of violence is just insane to watch, and they do it so well. Um, it's you guys were talking about Vaapas Aunga and that not being a great Diljit performance. I think Diljit is amazing in this movie. Like he is so good, especially like he disappears after the midpoint of the movie, and then it's kind of a who done it of, are we able to find this person that got kidnapped by the police? And then obviously if you know the real story, that's not going to happen. But he does make an appearance back in the movie at a very crucial moment. And that, I mean, if people would watch it, Karthik Aryan would not be getting national awards. Like that one scene is just heart wrenching, beautiful, and something like one of those sequences like you're mentioning about Vaapas Aunga, but like one of those lines and those visuals will stay in your brain for the rest of your life. It's that strong. Um, and he just says one line like I'm so cold. and it just like freezes your heart, like the way he says it. It's beautiful. It's a really good film. It's very dark. It is very Honey Trehan kind of filmmaking, if you've seen Raat Akeli and stuff like that. Like, it is like just dark and depressing, and there's no hope at all. There's no light at the end of this tunnel. And I think Satluj has that same thing where this tragedy happened. It was horrible. There is no resolution. There is no solution, and we just have to sit with the tragedy of it. And I think if people are looking for an escape, are looking for hope, this movie does not bring it. But I think it's also the reality of what we're living, where we are seeing horrors and tragedies happening, and the powerless that we have, that we cannot do anything about it. Like, everything that we try as a people, as a democracy, as we've tried the boycotts, we've tried the speaking up, we've tried the tweets going viral, we've gotten the reels going viral, we've done boycotts, we've gone on marches. Literally, like, at the moment, there's like people in India doing a hunger strike. None of it works. None of it works. Nothing helps us. And it leads to this kind of, this reality that hits you, that you are so powerless. And I think this movie really illustrates that to a degree, but also just says that even though we're powerless, even though we cannot do anything, we still have to fight. We still have to stand up. We still have to show up where we can show up, and it's a really, really strong movie. And I hope it can kind of spread and people can watch it. And I'm definitely also seeing a very counter narrative to it, that it's funded, and it's like it doesn't have like 100% accuracy and things like that. There's definitely a narrative going around, which you should also detach from. Like, if you can watch Dhurandhar and think that's a documentary, you can definitely watch Satluj and say, at least get something out of it. But yeah,
There's a
Amrita,
quote.
you did.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, there's a quote from that Ravish Kumar documentary while we watched, where he is delivering a speech accepting an award, and he says, some wars are not fought to win, some wars are fought to remember that somebody was there at the front line. It's very much that we are, fighting a losing war against the system of oppression and corruption and human rights violations and all of this, but we have to, give it back. The winning or not winning is, I don't know if we will be there to, witness that, but we have to fight it back.
I mean, they did murder him, but also he was able to get that recorded, I think the number that he computed, basically. So he found these records, and then he basically found these records for this one particular district, and then he sort of like multiplied it by the number of districts.
And they make that very clear in the movie. That very clear in the movie.
Yeah. And the number he came up with was 25,000, which is like a number that the government sort of vehemently, denies those allegations. But the fact that he was able to come up with justice in some way, shape, or form for those 2,500 people, who otherwise would have just joined a sea of like faceless people that were just disappeared by the police one day. I think like that is worth something. And also, like this, I was just listening to you talk about like how there's like open air viewings of this movie, and that is what this current government does so well. Like, they Barbara Streisand so much of like whatever it is that they're trying to like put a lid on, because I think like if it had just been allowed to come on, say, Z5 in the beginning, like without any cuts, they could have just said like, listen, we're not gonna like let you release this theatrically, but we'll let you like put it on Z5 and like, just forget about it. Who is watching like Z5 like that? Like, they don't even have, a kind of base. And now literally all of India is like talking about it. And all of the people around this movie too, like, they're just so extra and they're so insane. Like, KPS Gill's bhatija. Like, it's not even like his son or like his brother. It is like his sister's son is like like a somewhat progressive news editor, I guess. And he decided that he needed to clear or like stand up for his mama. And he's just like, well, yeah, but like, like KPS Guild this, KPS Guild that. And listen, like I grew up in India in the 80s and 90s, and I grew up in Delhi, which was like one of the major um, targets of the Khalistani movement, right? Like, so if it wasn't the Kashmiri militants, it was the Khalistanis. And I remember like all the bomb threats. I remember all the security checkpoints. I remember some of the stories. Like, I don't remember all the stories that came out during that time, but I do remember all the death and all the attacks against civilians that were happening from the Khalistanis, as well as against people who were suspected of being Khalistanis. And what KPS Gill did, like even then as a child, I knew that KPS Gill had basically created a sort of like an overlayer of the police regime in Punjab, where the police were acting with impunity. And
to me, it felt like the Gestapo. Like watching it from a European sensibility, like what they were doing was basically what the Gestapo was doing.
Yeah, that is literally like what I remember as a child. And I remember it being effective. I'm sorry. But like, I remember like they went at it in Punjab with the fire of 1,000 suns. And the fact that KPS Gill himself was a Sikh was basically what gave them cover to do whatever it was that they were doing. And they were able to stamp out the Khalistani movement in Punjab to a point where for the past like 30 years, I don't think anybody in Punjab, like I have Punjabi friends, I have Sikh friends, literally nobody I know, and I'm a very safe space for like my friends. And literally nobody I know has ever spoken about like, oh, you know what we need Khalistan. Like nobody. And then this government comes into power and they start talking about Punjabis as Khalistanis, and they're just sort of like erecting like bogeymen where none existed before. And now all of a sudden we're like talking about all of this shit, right? They've been talking about Diljit being a Khalistani for years, which it's sort of like they want the bad times to come back again. It's insane to me. And I don't know what harm it would do for the government to say that, you know what, those were bad times. We behaved badly. I'm sorry. Let's put up like a reconciliation movement or something, because like Punjab is ready for it. Like Punjabis, of like all the people in India, they're like probably the most open to just sort of like looking at their history and looking at the events that they've lived through and the trauma that they've lived through, because it's been like generations of trauma in that little slice of land. And instead, we're just sitting on Twitter talking rubbish from like sun up to sundown. And now this movie is banned. And honestly, it's just going to pour gasoline on whatever fires it is that the government thinks they're trying to tamp out.
Yeah, I wish you could watch it. I know that there's a Twitter link around, so if you want to watch it on Twitter, although I did see that it does
also
not
on
have,
YouTube.
Yeah, it does not have English subtitles though, and it is like very strong Punjabi, so it might be difficult if you're not like that fluent in it. I saw one final thing, and I don't know, Sujoy, did you watch Ikka, or was I the only one? You did watch Ikka, right? So the new
I watched it in the most Netflix way, like second screen watching, because I was working and I put it on because I knew it's a 3-hour slog with the best talent involved. So I watched it. I gave it the respect that it deserved.
So this is starring Sunny Deol and Akshay Khanna. The plot is a respected attorney must defend a murder suspect he previously brought down. Forced into the case, he bends every rule to secure freedom for his former enemy. So it dropped on Netflix, and I think I even saw a video of Sunny Deol. Sunny Deol was really not looking great. Like lately, like he's like age has really caught up to him. Like, and I think also probably the passing of his father, but physically he's not that. He's not doing great clearly. But he was thanking people because they made it number one on India or streaming or something like that. So it's getting the numbers that they were hoping for. But yeah, I think it's what do you think, Sujoy? You said you second screened this movie, right?
Yeah, well, the first 10 minutes of the movie hypes Sunny Deol as this untouchable, always wins all the cases, kind of a superstar lawyer guy, which I don't know if there is a real life counterpart to this. Like, I don't know lawyers being treated like this national hero, giving TED Talks.
You know
and
who was the
everybody-
last one? Who was?
Oh.
Thakral.
Thakral.
He's Thakral of the 2026. That's right.
What was the Damini Amrish Puri character, Chadda Saab or something like that, right? He's
yeah.
very much that. So I don't think I've grown out of that 90s superstar lawyer character now. So do we really have lawyers giving TED Talks about the
Law.
future of the nation and all of that? It was very much that. So I just totally zoned out after that movie. He's a lawyer and he has a slow-mo walk intro section. So I was like, what is this movie? And then Akshay Khanna doing the best Akshay Khanna impression. He looks like that Instagram guy with the bowl hat and he's trying to do that. He's like shaking his face throughout every single part of the dialogue he's given. There is not a single calm performance in this movie. Everybody has to be dialed up to 11, and I'm like, this movie exists just because it wants to torment me, and I did not have any of that. So yeah, I did not like this movie at all. It's stupid. It exists in a world that does not exist. It's I don't know. Like a lot of these, it's very much Akbas Mastan light. Like it's trying to do gotcha at you, but you can see it happening from a mile away, and it did not work for me.
My thing is, like, I really enjoy courtroom dramas. Like, it's one of those genres that I really appreciate. Like a very, like I'll even watch like stuff like the Good Fight, like those kind of like Elsbeth, like just like random like things about a court where they're like lawyer and debating like, a few good men, like those kind of things. I love those things, even 12 Angry Men. Like I just love it. Like I love this idea of debating ideas and things like that. But I don't know the Indian courtroom system, right? So the way, I don't know if this is the reality or the way it's portrayed in this movie, but it just seems like a complete joke to me. Like it doesn't
It is a very filmy joke. I think if you want to actually watch how Indian courtrooms work, a court is a great example. There is a very
film.
Marathi film, but this is very much a filmification of that, and also like if we wanted heightened drama in an Indian courtroom scene, that we have watched Mary Chang, we have watched Damini, we have watched the Rajkumar Santoshis of the world do that and Manmohan Desai and all of that. We have watched that. This is very much not backed by the writing. It's very pika. It's very pani kam chai. So it doesn't work that way because it's really relying upon the nostalgic image of Sunny Deol in Damini to bring. They also have a 2.5 kilo dialogue in this
and
space,
everybody cringed. Like nobody wants to add that line, but they add that line, and Sunny Deol is like, "Oh my god!"
It's said by Tilottama Shom, who is such a great actress, and she is such a misfit in this universe because
the most thankless role I have seen a woman portray in movies in. I don't even remember. Like it's almost like feels anti-feminist. Like it feels like it's like this is supposed to be a smart lawyer, but she's like incapable, and she gets played by everybody. She doesn't do any preparation. She doesn't know her witnesses. Her witnesses become how do you call it? Like when a hostile witness. So all of her witnesses becomes hostile witnesses. Like there's witnesses that come on unannounced. Proof that gets delivered just before the judge without any verification. Like I always thought that the Indian system was based somewhere on the British system, right? But this just seemed like a cartoonish way, but they do shoot it like it's a serious proceeding that's happening. And why he's called Ikka is basically because he brings out his ace just at the last moment, right? And the ace that he brings out is so ridiculous because throughout the whole movie, there is no surprise. We know that the character that's being accused is lying. We knew that from the start. There was not a moment that there was any doubt in our minds, right? So then it's about the morals of Sunny Deol as a lawyer. And that part is just so confusing about cell transfers and a baby that's not his baby and then somebody else's baby, and Dia Mirza is stuck in the middle, and it's just so complicated for no reason, and no explanation is ever given. And then at the end it becomes like Kajal and what was that movie Dopatti, where she switches teams, and I was like, is that allowed? Can you just now, like, you were defending this one person and now you're accusing this person and you brought the whole team with you and Tilotama is there too, like, what's going on? I was like, it just, like, I felt really, really stupid. And I was like surprised because this movie was such a hit, so people are watching it. But then I mean, Sujoy, a lot of times I'll tell you, like, put your screen away or this and that for certain kind of movie. I fully support you watching this movie with a second screen because it is stupid and it should not get even our attention. So Amrita, I don't think you should watch Ikka, and I don't think you were.
Don't worry. I don't plan on watching it.
Yeah, that it was a really bad time. And I was kind of like hyped for it, to be honest. Like I thought it could be fun, and it really, really wasn't. And I'm really sad that I ended up wasting my time. That's it, I think, for this episode. Anything else we needed to cover? No, we're good.
No,
Oh, by the way, Kalki 2898 also won a national award.
As it should. That. I don't. What do you guys feel about the national awards? Like,
you can tell by the giggles I'm having, learning who won.
But this used to be a decent award, right? Like back in the day, this used to mean something, right? Like, we used to be a nation, that kind of thing.
That's it. Feel like that.
So Kartik Aaryan won, and then Mammootty also won. Like, they're meaning that they're at the same level of acting.
Pushpa 2 also won for best screenplay.
Pushpa 2. Oh, wow. Pushpa 2. I never managed to finish that movie. I never did. Like, I just couldn't get through it. Like, yeah.
Maidan also won for best lyrics. Oh my God, Manoj Muntashir. Okay, that makes sense. Why?
I'm glad somebody watched Maidan.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
That's
the
Ajay Devgan's
Devgan
football
movie
with the brown
You don't
balls.
have to tell me. That's okay.
It's set in the past because they have brown balls.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't want to know.
This is a joke, man. This is a whole. This is a joke.
Well, in any case, drop us an email on youpodcasting@gmail.com if you really think these are like deserved national awards, or if you enjoyed Ikka, I would love to hear that too.
I also there's one other thing that I think like one of our Patreons was mentioning, like she was wondering if we had any thoughts about the passing of S. Janaki, and I think maybe you don't know who she is, Asim, but she mostly sang in South Indian languages, particularly in Tamil. And she was considered one of like the four great, singers, like lady singers of India. There's Lata Mangeshkar, Asha Bhosle, S. Janaki, and P. Sushila. And I think P. Sushila is still alive, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know. But S. Janaki, basically, if you have a favorite Tamil song from the 70s and 80s, or, like before or after. But for me, it's from the 70s and 80s because it's all like very Ilayaraja songs. Then S. Janaki sang it, and she has like this really unique voice, which is like it's the kind of voice that you expect to hear for a Carnatic song. But then she's like sort of got like, all these funky numbers that have like all the synth sound and stuff.
I'll tell you, Asim, what you might have heard her in. Do you remember Sahib, the Anil Kapoor and Amrita Singh movie, the Yaar Bina Chain Ka Hai?
Yeah.
That's S. Janaki.
Oh, okay.
S. Janaki also sang Gopala Gopala in Humse Mukabla.
Oh, okay. I have my number. The songs I would get. Of all her filmography, these are the songs Asim knows.
Asim has to know these.
I do.
I think she also sang the Kiliye Kiliye song from that you might have heard in the Kalyani Priyadarshan movie that came out last year, Loka. And like that was a reprise of like the song that she sang. So yeah, so like she's like a legend, and like the way that Lata Mangeshkar is for North Indians is the way that S. Janaki was for South Indians. So it was, but it's like one of those things, right? Like for the South Indians, she wasn't treated as well as she ought to have been. Like she should have gotten more respect, etc. And all the North Indians are just like, well, who is that though? So it's one of those things. But she was truly one of the greats. The soundtrack to my childhood was, half Lata and Asha and like half S. Janaki. So, yeah, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. This is also the Odyssey weekend. We will be watching Odyssey at cinemas, and we will be discussing it on Patreon. So subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Khandaan podcast, where you will get our unfiltered thoughts on Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited for that one. I unfortunately don't have a chance to see it in IMAX. I think, Sujoy, you will be watching it in IMAX, right? Amrita, did you watch it in IMAX or?
I watched it in something called PXL, which is sort of like a bigger screen, but it's not like 70 mm. But I am 100% going to go watch it in IMAX. But there's no the reason why I went and watched it in this is because there's no like true IMAX in India as such. I think there's like one in Bombay, and that's basically it. And I'm not flying to Bombay to watch this. So I'm just waiting for this opening weekend price gouging phase to go down, because I'm sorry, I'm not paying like 2K for a movie ticket. Like I'm just not going to do it. Like I hate being taken advantage of. So I'm just going to wait, and then I'm going to go watch it again with my brother and my friends, I think.
Cool. And I still recommend watching The Return, also, that I've recommended you last time, which you should definitely check out, because I was just like refreshing. I was listening to The Rest is History, and they were going through all of the Odyssey. And I mean, I know the story, but it just, it was good to kind of like just contextualize it. And I'm excited to see what they will pick from the story and what they won't. So I'm super excited. I mean, it's a Nolan movie, and it's not about Oppenheimer, so I'm very excited about this. So we'll probably record something, and then that's going to be for Patreon. So excited. Glad we're back. Glad we're talking about movies again. And Amrita, where can people find you online?
I am sadly back on Twitter, so you can find me at Amrita IQ on Twitter, where I'm mostly silent these days, but once in a while I'll just complain about the movie watching experience in India, which continues to be horrendous.
I continuously write a tweet and then delete the tweet. Like I just don't, like I was like, what am I even getting out of it? Like it's that's what my Twitter experience is now. Sujoy?
I'm not on Twitter anymore. I officially logged out of it. I'm only on Instagram. I'm not even on TikTok, because my TikTok algorithm just became really hard to manage. So I'm posting pictures of my travels on Instagram at 93K. You can check out my content if you like. Otherwise, you can check out our video content on YouTube, youtube.com/Khandaan podcast. And obviously, for all the exclusive stuff, you can follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
We just posted a new YouTube episode, also video episode we called Bollywood Jodis That Quit Too Soon. It was a really fun episode, actually. And I think
somebody commented saying it's the year 2040 and Khandaan is still posting videos of the one time they were recording videos. And that is very, very true.
Yeah, and I think I replied, we still have 20 more episodes to go. So yes, you are right. But the funny part is also like nothing really interesting thing has happened in Bollywood. So everything is very
Yeah.
current still, So all the topics, and we were very smart in the way we analyzed it. So check out that episode if you hadn't had a chance. And there's another one going to be dropping soon. So check us out on YouTube. Share, like, subscribe.
I'm gonna try and convince these two guys to watch English Babu Desi Meme for the next episode. I don't know how successful I will be in that, but
We'll get
maybe
there. We'll get there.
there.
These are the the bottom of the pile garbage also that we need to go through as Khandaan.
It's the Khandaan dare episodes.
Yeah.
We are daring to watch these Khan movies.
And I know 80% of your motivation is just that poster with Sonali Bendre's legs.
It is.
Like I know
It
that's
is.
literally the reason why you're making us watch this movie. So.
Like Bharatpur lut gaya. Ui mori amma.
So yeah, we all have our motivations, and this is Sujoy. So English Babu Desi Meme is coming soon. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be back with a new episode soon.
क्या बोलती